We've finally got our hands on Shimano's new Ultegra R8100 group set, announced back in August 2021 alongside the flagship Dura-Ace R9200 group set. Even BikeRadar aren't immune from the cycling industry shortages, as this is the very first time that we have received a complete setup. But now that we have it, I'm going to get every part on the scales and cast my forensic eye over the group set to bring you all of the key details. And if you want to see our in-depth first look at the new Dura-Ace R9200 group set, then click on the link in the card above or in the video description below. Ultegra is Shimano's second tier group set, sitting below Dura-Ace, which is the lightest, shiniest, money's no object group set. Shimano claims that the R8100 series group set weighs 2,716 grams, which is just 278 grams heavier than equivalent Dura-Ace R9200 group set. The headline features of Ultegra R8100 are that it's 12-speed, it's electronic only, and it's semi-wireless. Shifting is also claimed to be even faster and smoother than before. But before we dive into the finer details and look through the group set component by component, let us know in the comments if you would like to see an Ultegra and Dura-Ace head-to-head here on this channel. So what does Shimano mean by semi-wireless? Well, there's no wires between the shifters and the derailleurs, which results in a cleaner setup and makes working on the latest integrated cockpits far less of a headache. Instead, there's a wire between the derailleurs and a new battery, which will generally be housed inside of the seat post. In terms of battery life, Shimano says the system should have enough juice for at least 1,000 kilometers of riding for most riders. The rear derailleur now contains the brains of the system, which has eliminated the need for a separate junction box elsewhere on the bike. And Shimano says you can actually double the battery life if you run the system fully wired. Now though, let's get on to fondling all of those parts individually. Starting at the shifters, these are arguably the most visually striking component of the new group set. The outgoing R8070 shifters were impressively small, especially considering they had to house both the hydraulic reservoir and the Di2 internals. Shimano says it received feedback that the shifters were too small, hence the noticeable increase in size and the fact that they are now more slightly angled in. For me, I think this is going to be a good change, as I was one of those people who felt the R8070 and the R9170 shifters were a little too small, even though I have relatively dainty hands. The new levers now have shrouds around the front, hiding the lever blade above the pivot point, and they are powered by CR1632 coin cell batteries, which Shimano claims should last around 1.5 to 2 years, depending on how much you shift. Shimano has done a minor update to the texture on the shifting paddles, but for me, it's not a major change. I've used a new Dura-Ace group set, to which these are virtually identical, and I still found that when I was wearing full finger gloves, I still missed the occasional shift. Now that's not a problem you'll have with SRAM Access due to its double tap shifting arrangement. And of course, while I'm here, this is what the buttons sound like. Now in terms of feel, it's fairly audible here in a quiet studio, but when you're on the bike, obviously that click is less audible. The lever travel is also fairly short, and while it feels good when you've not got any gloves on, when you do have full finger gloves on, it can still feel a little vague. The shifters cost £349.99 for the pair, and Shimano claims the new shifters weigh 391 grams for the pair. And on our scales of truth, they weigh 385 grams, which is actually a little less. Right, moving on to the rear derailleur. The rear derailleur has also seen heavy refinement and is now the brains of the Di2 system, as mentioned earlier. The new rear derailleur also features a new chipset and upgraded motors to increase the speed of the shifts. Though the materials used to construct the derailleurs differ, Shimano says Ultegra and Dura-Ace now share the same internals, meaning performance should, for all intents and purposes, be identical. And speaking of performance, Shimano claims rear shifting on the Ultegra R8100 group set is 58% faster than the previous generation of Dura-Ace, so we're looking forward to seeing how that claim stacks up in real-world use. Some of you might be glad to hear that you won't need Shimano's separate inline Bluetooth transmitter to connect to Shimano's eTube app anymore either, as Bluetooth functionality is now built directly into the rear mech. Also gone are the short and medium length cage options. There's now just one medium cage option with a capacity for up to a 34-tooth cassette. The claimed weight for the new rear derailleur is 262 grams, and it costs £379.99. On our scales, it weighs 261 grams, another gram below the claimed weight. Right, so onto the front derailleur. Now, the front derailleur has also had an update and it's now much smaller and sleeker than before. Shimano says it can also shift a whopping 45% faster compared to the outgoing Dura-Ace. The claimed weight for the new front derailleur is 116 grams and it costs £249.99. On our scales, it weighs 111 grams. So there's obviously no battery housed inside this as it actually connects to the one inside the frame, but I nevertheless still think it's quite impressive that they've managed to make it this slim considering it communicates wirelessly with both the shifters and the rear derailleur. Let's move on to the crankset, arguably the centerpiece of any group set. The new crankset isn't dramatically different to the outgoing one. It uses the same Holotech 2 technology as before, but it does have updated aesthetics with a more symmetrical appearance in line with the new Dura-Ace group set. It continues to use the same four-arm construction, is still aluminium, and it still uses a 24mm steel axle which fits the same bottom bracket as before. And if you're interested in some spicy opinions on bottom bracket standards, click on the link in the video description below. What is different though, and is very exciting for a data nerd like me, is that Shimano now offers a dedicated dual-sided power meter option at the Ultegra level, which was previously reserved only for Dura-Ace. Shimano offers the new Ultegra crankset with 52-36 or 50-34 tooth chainrings, but if you're the kind of legend who likes to use big gears, you'll need to pony up for a Dura-Ace R9200 crankset, as there's no 54-40 or 53-39 tooth option for Ultegra anymore. The new crankset costs £299.99 or £999.99 if you want the power meter version. We have the non-power meter option here with 52-36 tooth chainrings and the claimed weight is 711 grams. On our scales, it weighs 749 grams, but it does have a couple of little adapters on it, so maybe they make up a few grams. So in terms of impressions, I think it actually looks really good. I think the new kind of symmetrical crank arm looks a little bit more muscular, and I really like the fact that the chainrings have got a little glossier. I think it looks really premium. There's not much difference between this and the Dura-Ace crankset, to be honest. I quite like a 53-39, I use bigger gears on my time trial bike, but I think for the majority of people, 52-36 and 50-34 are going to be plenty. The new cassettes obviously have a very similar appearance to the old ones, but crucially, they now feature 12 cogs. As you'd expect, this helps make the jumps between each gear a little smaller so you can more easily fine-tune your selected gear. There are just two ratios on offer now, 11-30 tooth and 11-34 tooth. As you might have guessed, this dinner plate is the 11-34 tooth option. If you want a tighter 11-28 tooth cassette, then you'll have to find the extra cash for a Dura-Ace one, as it's only an option at that level. In a very welcome change, Shimano has also revised the jumps between the gears. There are now single tooth jumps for the first 7 sprockets on the 11-30 tooth cassette and the first 5 on the 11-34 tooth cassette. Before the new group sets were announced, we had speculated Shimano might carry over the micro-spline free hub standard from its 12-speed mountain bike wheels, but they actually haven't done that. Instead, Shimano's new 12-speed road group sets use a new and different standard with more splines. However, fear not, the new cassettes are still backwards compatible with older 11-speed HG free hubs, so you won't need to replace your current wheels if you'd like to upgrade to this new group set from an older 11-speed one. Compared to Dura-Ace cassettes, the 5 largest sprockets on Ultegra cassettes are made of steel rather than titanium, which increases weight and helps cut costs. Shimano claims a weight of 291 grams for the 11-30 tooth and 345 grams for the 11-34 tooth cassettes, both of which cost £119.99 each. So our sample weighs 340 grams, and that's including the lock ring, 5 grams less. And now, onto the wheels. For this generation of Ultegra, Shimano has upped its game significantly when it comes to wheels. Previous designs were fairly conservative in terms of spec, but the new Ultegra wheels are far more modern with all new rim profiles. The rim shape is the same as on the new Dura-Ace wheels and combines a 21mm internal width and a 28mm external width. As for rim depths, you have the option of a 36, 50 and 60mm, all with the same inner and outer widths. All of the wheel sets are tubeless ready and feature hooked rims, meaning you can use pretty much whatever tyres you like. One key difference between the new Ultegra and Dura-Ace wheel sets is that the free hubs on the Ultegra ones are compatible with both 11-speed and 12-speed cassettes. On the other hand, the new Dura-Ace wheel sets get the new free hub mentioned earlier, which is only compatible with 12-speed cassettes. Just worth bearing that in mind if you're considering upgrading your wheels but still want to use an 11-speed group set for the time being. The total cost for this Ultegra C36 TL wheel set is £1,259.98, and that's the same for each variation in the range. The claimed weight for this wheel set is 1,488 grams, but on our scales they actually weighed 1,527 grams. Although, to be fair, that does include the tubeless rim tape, which Shimano probably isn't accounting for. And now, that all-important free hub sound check. It's got a little bit louder than previous Shimano hubs. Is that a good or a bad thing? Let us know in the comments below. So I think overall this is a really welcome update from Shimano in terms of its wheels. I don't think they're the most progressive wheels on the market, but that's typical Shimano really. The hubs are still really nice looking. If they use the same cup and cone bearings as before, which should mean you get good longevity and easy servicing. They're not the lightest rims or the lightest hubs or the lightest spokes on the market, but all round this should be a very solid wheel set. New chain. The new chain is shared with the brand's XT mountain bike group set and is, as you'd expect, 12-speed compatible. The only other notable change versus the old 11-speed chains is that the edges of the outer plates have been chamfered to reduce drivetrain noise. Shimano claims a 252 gram weight and it costs £44.99. On our scales it weighs 238 grams. So next up, we have the hydraulic brake calipers. Now then, the hydraulic disc brake calipers have actually undergone heavy refinement for this latest generation of Ultegra. Shimano's disc brakes on its R8000 system was actually the first time the hydraulic brakes were tiered, meaning they had the Ultegra name printed on them. For these latest disc brakes, Shimano says it has concentrated on increasing the pad clearance, which is now up by 10%. This is aimed at alleviating the irritating pad rub the previous generations often suffered with, especially in wet or muddy conditions. They also inherit the servo-wave feature from Shimano's gravel and mountain bike brakes. This creates a non-linear relationship between the lever and the pad travel, which is claimed to give you improved power and modulation. So, quieter, more powerful braking with greater control than before. It all sounds pretty good on paper. The bleed port has also been revised. There's now a separate port for the syringe hose and a separate valve operated by a hex bolt, offering easier in-situ bleeding. The flat mount hydraulic brake calipers cost £74.99 each, and on our scales, they weigh 240 grams for the pair. Right, so on to the disc brake rotors. The new MT800 rotors are exactly the same as are found in the mountain bike group set XT and feature the freezer technology, which is said to help cool the disc brake down when it heats up through braking. Shimano claims 108 grams for the 160mm rotor and 88 grams for the 140mm rotor, and they cost £49.99 each. On our scales, the 140mm rotor weighs spot on 88 grams and the 160mm rotor weighs spot on 108 grams. If you're a die-hard rim brake fanatic and you want to upgrade to this group set, then there's no need to worry, as Shimano still has you covered. The rim brakes themselves look virtually identical to the outgoing R8000 ones though, as do the shifters, which lack the new shrouded design. It's also important to note that the system cannot be run semi-wirelessly in its rim brake form. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a set of the shifters or the rim brakes, but you can look at our old R8000 video to get a look at those. So those are all the new shiny things, but for anyone interested, we also have the new battery, which looks a lot like a little marker pen, and the new charging cable, which is an updated design versus the previous one. So if you have a previous generation of Di2, it's not cross-compatible. And on the scales, the battery weighs 55 grams. We'll be sure to bring you a full review of the new Groupset once we've had a chance to thoroughly test it. So look out for that further down the line. Now in terms of weight, all of this here together, excluding the wheel set, weighs 2,577 grams. But just to qualify that, there are obviously a few things missing, like a couple of lock rings, disc brake pads, and some cables. So that's just a kind of representative weight based on the major components. In terms of cost, if you brought the components for a disc brake Groupset separately at the recommended retail price, it would cost a grand total of £1,694.90, excluding the new wheel set and with the standard non-power meter crankset. If you want to include those two things, the total price rises to a cool £3,654.88. We're really sorry, but international pricing isn't available at the time of filming. What are your thoughts though? Is Shimano making a huge mistake by abandoning mechanical road Groupsets at the top level? Would a true wireless Groupset have been even better, even if it meant lower battery life? As always, let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to hit that little bell icon so you can be notified each and every time we upload a new video.